No, I'm not going to let you know where we're starting. We are starting now. Welcome to the show, everyone. I'm your host. My name is Mark, and I'm your host. And today on the show, I've got a friend of mine in recovery, and her name is Kim. Kim, welcome.
Yes, Kim Savage.
Kim.
Yep.
Hey, well, I brought something else that's savage, and it is the recovery band. Kick it, boys. And studio audience. There's so many. So Kim, how you doing today? You're cracking up over there.
Right?
First off,
Studio audience.
I know.
So many people.
It is. Even the chickens out there were clapping.
Right?
Yeah. So, thank you for your service and coming to being willing to sit down and do this today. I appreciate it. So, can we start with time?
5 o'clock. Is that what you wanted to really know?
No.
Oh.
How much time do you have in recovery?
Oh, that's hysterical. 10 years and 30 days. Not that I'm counting.
Not 10 years and 30 days.
Yes.
That is accurate.
Probably 10 years, 60 days.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Incredible. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Now, is that continuous time or?
Yep.
Yep.
Not one mess up.
Wow. So how did your journey to recovery begin?
Well, believe it or not, I tell short stories, unlike most women. I started drinking at 28 years old. I was not brought up in a house where my family drank. I started drinking at 28, and by my 40s, I was in trouble. Honestly, I called the cops on myself the first time.
What?
Yeah, I did on my 40th birthday party because, everyone wants to live large on their 40th birthday. So
Yeah.
Me and all my friends got big bottles of some kind of vodka and an 8-ball. And we went out and partied, and they all fell asleep, and I stayed awake till the next morning. And I thought, well, this isn't working. So I called the cops on myself.
Because it wasn't working.
I stayed up all night. Everyone else is sleeping, and I think I'm having a heart attack.
Oh, no.
Yeah, because I was the only one enjoying the rest of the 8-ball, to be honest with you. And I knew I was in trouble, so I guess I Baker acted myself.
Yeah.
They locked me up and then put me in detox for a couple of days. Mm-hmm. And then I didn't get sober after that. It took me 6 more years.
It took you 6 more years. So what was it like after that detox for you?
Oh, the detox. Well, the detox wasn't bad because they medically detox you. It's when you detox at home, but I don't really remember much about that. It was really weird for a girl like me to be locked up in detox, though.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my goodness.
What am I doing here?
There's 30 men and 30 women, and I think half of them were homeless, and we were all in there together figuring it out.
Oh, wow. Mm-hmm. Wow. Did you think like how did I get here?
I did. I remember sitting there thinking, how did I get here? But oddly enough, I felt safe in there because I knew I was locked up and I couldn't get drugs or alcohol. Mm-hmm. And I just knew that my life needed to change. I didn't know how I was going to do it.
Yeah.
I owned my own business, and then I lost my business. Long story short, 10 years sober, so I'm 56 now. December 3rd, I'd been on a 9-day bender, and somebody took me to the hospital again for another medical detox. Uh-huh. And my ex-husband came in and took a picture of me, and he was really mad. He was really mad that he had to leave work to come tend to me.
What?
And I remember laying there thinking, I never again will devalue myself over the thoughts my mother or my husband have about me, because look what I've done to myself at the effect of my emotions. My only thought and answer was pick up a bottle and drink.
Yeah.
And I'm the one laying in the hospital. So there are 2 police officers deciding my life. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, that's never going to happen again. I'm never going to put myself in that position where someone gets to decide where I'm going.
Yeah.
And I didn't know how I was going to get sober, but I knew I was going to do it somehow.
Yeah, like you really wanted it this time around.
No one was ever going to hold that kind of power over me again, because I had drank myself into not being able to just speak for myself.
Wow. That's...
So I got, somebody gave me Jim Roosh's phone number. I don't know if you know him. He's well known in Sarasota. He's 20 years sober. So anyway, I got his phone number, went and met him at a church, and he worked at Harvest House at the time. Harvest House. Yep. Yeah. Southwest Florida's largest drug and alcohol treatment program. They did not have an outpatient program. I did not go through Harvest House, but I'm still with them to this day because I created my own outpatient program. Everywhere they went, I went.
Really?
The buses would pull up and I'd be right behind them in my own car. Whatever class they went to, I went to. Whatever homework they were doing, I did.
Yeah.
And my ex-husband continued to drink for the next 5 years while I stayed sober.
Wow. Wow. It's so you went and you did this, you followed them everywhere that they went. And so how long did you do treatment for?
I probably hung around Harvest for probably a year or two.
Oh, wow.
I mean, I've never left, but I was going to their classes and doing AA and just anything I could get my hands on. Because as you know, with any choice you make, the information is already out there. It's gathering the information, and the hard part is implementation.
Yeah, I deal with denial. Like that was my big thing when I got sober. It's like, oh, you mean to tell me this is really gonna work? But then, as a friend of mine said, well, how'd that work out for you? The way that I was trying to do things.
Well, because we compare ourselves to the drunkest person in the room.
Yeah,
and as long as we can find somebody who's more jacked up than us, we don't have a problem.
Yeah, it's like I remember like I made a list of things I wouldn't do if I was in sound mind, and one of the things was sit in the dope hole, right, and criticize the guy coming in that's come in twice that day, right? Oh, look at that addict, right? But yet I've been hanging out there for 2 days.
Yep. I'm going to find the weakest link and point them out so I don't have to look at myself.
Absolutely, man. That guy's an alcoholic.
Oh, he drinks at lunch. He drinks in the morning. I don't start till lunch, so I'm not an alcoholic.
Yeah, that's a yet.
Yeah, I love it. The power of yet. It's coming.
Yeah, it's like if you haven't done it, just put a yet behind it and put it on the list. So can I read you some out of the big book?
Absolutely.
Yeah, so this is on page 295 of the big book, The Housewife of Drinking Home. I read this recently, and I'm always in this thing, but this has really been sticking out to me recently. And it says at one time, the admission that I was and am an alcoholic meant shame, defeat, and failure to me. But in the light of a new understanding that I have found in AA, I've been able to interpret the defeat and that failure and that shame as seeds of victory, because it was only through feeling defeat and feeling failure, the inability to cope with my life and with alcohol, that I was able to surrender and accept the fact that I had this disease and that I had to learn to live again without alcohol.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I associate alcohol with alcohol in any form.
Yes.
Yeah, and like, what does that mean to you?
Well, I think that's part of the humbling that those of us in the program go through. You can see a distinct difference in those of us that have worked a program and those who haven't.
Yeah.
You know, the syndrome, I guess you would say syndrome, dry drunk.
Yeah.
You know, once we get some time in, we can see who's sober and who's working the program, who's in denial. It's like a pie chart. You can just kind of look and go, where am I on this? I'm really on the healing journey because I am doing the work.
Yeah. I was told that step one is quantity and the rest is quality. When it comes down to it. And I never knew what a dry drunk was until I got into recovery. I heard people like, oh, that guy's dry. And I'm like, what do you mean? And it's usually you can, now I can see it.
Right.
I can see it. I go, oh, man. Ooh.
They got sober, but they're still angry.
Yeah. Yeah. And I heard that there was time versus quality of time.
That's funny. It's so true.
Yeah. Think about how many times we see that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, that can take you back.
Yeah.
Even in your own journey to think of where we've come, how far we've made it.
Well, let's talk about that. So, like, what was the journey like in the beginning?
Oh my gosh, it was rough. You know, I teach a class on Tuesday nights. I work at the Crossings currently, and I teach a class to about 50 people that are. I typically work with people newly out of jail and prison, which is my favorite niche market, believe it or not. If you'd ever told me that when I got sober,
Really?
that I'd be hanging around with people that have been in long-term incarceration, I'm like, Oh my God, how many tattoos do these people have? I've never seen that many tattoos. And now they're my favorite people to hang out with because they're the most real I've ever met.
Yeah.
There's something about those of us that have gone through recovery and had our dignity stripped by our own choices, but still our dignity stripped from us that makes us some of the most humble, beautiful people I've met.
Yeah. Yeah. People in recovery are amazing.
They really are.
Yeah. It's so for you, like, so you said you teach this class. How'd you get into that?
Well, Jim Roosh has branched off and got his own place about 1.5 years ago. So he said, "Hey, we need someone to teach class." I'm like, I don't do public speaking. He's like, "Well, you do now. Here's the keys."
You got voluntold.
So I just remember standing in front of the whiteboard, and what I do is I teach everything that I wished I had learned along my journey.
That's amazing.
How do I manage a broken heart? How do I pay my bills? How do I deal with a coworker? Like things real time. Like, and I've just taught them all the things I've learned along the way. Like one of my classes is called lasagna.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
then I show a picture of lasagna, how when they come into the program, they expect us to just make everything magically happen. I'm like, you guys got layers and layers and layers of stuff we got to work through. It didn't take you 5 years to lose it all. It's not going to get you all back in one night. So it's going to be layer after layer after layer of working through this.
Yeah, it wasn't just like a bad weekend that landed you here. It's
No.
yeah. It does. Time takes time.
So one of my favorite quotes. So in the class, I do one-liners.
Okay.
Because sometimes when you're new in recovery, our brains aren't working right. And sometimes in class, I could only take a little bite size. So in the class, I do one-liners, favorite quotes. One of my favorite quotes is, I refuse to give up what I want most for what I want tonight. That's the quote I tell myself to still keep myself sober now.
Wow.
I refuse to give up what I want most for what I want tonight. Because tonight I'd like to go home and drink. Had a bad day. Fred made me mad. Life happened. But it's not what I want most. I don't ever want to wake up day one girl again.
Yeah. That feeling. I was talking about that in a meeting. I think it was it yesterday? I think it was that feeling of not being able to get more.
Oh, the disease of more. Can
Yeah.
you see it now that you're sober?
Yeah, it's that feeling. It's like it's 3 a.m. You can't get a bottle, right? he like package stores are closed. You're like, I'd give everything I had for that bottle right now, right? The dope man's cut you off, or the dope man's out, right? Or
Jones and Stars.
yeah, and it's like, and I'm like in the corner, like scraping bags, like,
Yes.
like whatever I can do to like fake, like just get a crumble or something. Then you get that little hit, and it's just like, that's not enough.
No.
And it's like that feeling of more is the most uncomfortable feeling in the world.
It almost makes my stomach nauseous now to think back to that, because it's so true. When you run out in the middle of the night, you're drinking or doing drugs or whatever, you're hoping there's one airplane bottle hidden in the dresser, digging all around the house, hoping you could find something.
Yeah.
People don't understand the cravings we go through when we recover.
Yeah.
Cravings are living hell walking on earth.
Yeah. It is. It's it was the obsession, like the thought of like, really, I got to live my whole life.
Yeah.
That was unimaginable at that time. Like, really,
I got to plan out ahead. I got to make sure I got enough liquor to get me through the night and enough wine in the morning when I wake up, that I have enough wine to take the shakes away before I go to work.
wow. Yeah, that's the any links we go to get that. And then I was told like I couldn't wrap my mind around it in the beginning, right? Like that any links to stay sober, to get sober and to stay sober. And like I struggle with like, okay, really, I should go to that many meetings. Oh, I need to do these steps, and the denial was just spiraling out of control. Like, wow, this is the answer.
If you think back, I think it was a part-time job. It was a part-time job drinking, getting dressed, going to the bar, spending all that time making promises with people that you're never going to follow through, right? Your new best friend sitting next to you at the bar.
Yeah.
And now I'm 10 years sober. I'm like, God, I spent so much time just sitting at the bar, making promises and dreaming things that were never going to happen.
Yeah.
Because even if I wanted them to, I didn't have the capacity. Like my class the other night was zip code living.
Yeah. Was
Zip code living, because I lived on the water right next to my store and right next to the liquor store. And I thought I was living large because the alcohol had me thinking I was living a large life, but I was really going to the work, going to the liquor store, going back to my apartment because everyone wanted to party at my apartment. So I thought I was the cat's meow.
Yeah.
And then I realized, oh my gosh, this is zip code living. I've never made it out of the zip code for weeks. Thinking I'm living large, because my addiction had me thinking I was living large when I wasn't. I was incarcerated inside my own zip code because I was scared to drive, didn't want to get out of my comfort, my living area, because I was afraid to get pulled over for DUI.
Wow. So like just kind of like this internal prison.
Shackled myself to my zip code.
I've never, that's the first time I've heard that, zip code living. That's good.
Yeah, because I used to fly to Manhattan to buy things for my store, and then that went away because I was unable to get on planes anymore because my drinking had got out of hand. So I didn't even see it then, because I still could function with my store. And my friends still came over. So my addiction still made me think I was living large when I wasn't. I was incarcerating myself to my home and to my apartment.
Wow. Wow. Zip code living. That's the beauty of staying teachable, right? You learn something new every day.
Right?
Yeah. And that is like, yeah. And then you think that you're just high and mighty, right?
You're living large.
You're
Your
living
friends
so
are coming
good.
over because you got the lines, you got the
Yeah.
booze. Everyone's coming to your house. No, they're just coming to dip into a couple lines and then leave you because they're not going to hit rock bottom like you are.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I thought I was living large because I was the dope man's best friend.
Right.
Yeah. It's like, oh, I'm his favorite, like.
Now you're like, that's a little embarrassing. I was too.
Yeah.
I've sat in a lot of living rooms.
Yeah. It's like, look at me. Don't you know who I am?
I'm the dope man's best friend.
Yeah.
Nobody wants that title, but we gave it up for that because our addiction made us think that we were.
Yeah. It's crazy the things that we think, like just the out of mind.
And that applies to not just people in recovery, but if you look at people's lives outside of recovery too, people can understand zip code living because families are doing that too. They get up, they go to work, they take the kids. They're just living in these little zip codes when you got this whole big old world out there. But we're just minimizing our lives due to busyness, addiction. It's crazy.
Well, it's kind of like the world's like a world of more, right? Like we got to have more of everything, right? It's all around us. It's advertised all the time.
I know. The longer I stay sober, I look around and think, okay, I'm at the restaurant looking at table number 9. They've got 4 kids, 4 iPads. The parents are on their cell phones. They're drinking. They got the dog and the cat. They done brought everything but the living room sofa with them to go to dinner. How much stimulation does table number 9 need? Looking at it from a sober person. How about everybody put their devices away and speak to one another?
Yeah. That's the weirdest thing because I go through that now, right? Like I'm trying to like connect with my daughter.
Yeah.
Right. And it's like, in a world of technology, like I'm so programmed to the phone. It's like, oh crap, I gotta put away my phone, like all this. And it's not that I don't want to, it's addictive. It's very hard. Everything's right there at your fingertips.
Because we're looking for that dopamine fix. Like, has someone texted me? Does somebody want to talk to me? Does somebody like me? How's my video doing? I need such outside validation.
Wow. Mm-hmm. Wow, that's a great way to put that.
Yep.
The whole world, like if you look around, you see it. I remember back when I go to like parking lots to go meet my friend, right? And we'd be in the car and we'd sit there and I'd get it and I'd start doing it. He's like, what are you doing? There's people walking around. I'm like, do you think anybody's even paying attention? Like everybody's looking down.
Oh.
Yeah. It's like even the security guard driving by in his vehicle's got his phone out.
It's
like
so true.
It is like nobody cares. Like you can talk in a restaurant. It's like nobody's paying attention.
So one of the things I teach in class, because one of the number one reasons we relapse, as you know, is broken hearts. It'll take us out.
Yeah.
So I do teach about relationships a lot. And I think there's 2 important things to know. The 5 love languages, to know your love language, which by the way, mine's quality time. So you can buy me all the bedazzly, dingly little rhinestone diamonds you want. But unless you sit and spend quality time with me, I don't feel loved.
Wow.
Yeah. So you can go buy me the fancy stuff, but I still won't feel loved unless you spend quality time with me. And so I've been teaching that along the way too, so we can learn how to love one another. I say to I'm trying to get us to re-engineer the way we speak to one another. So when I meet new people, just ask them or the clients I work with, I say, what does help look like to you?
Wow.
What does help look like? I recently just had one of my dear friends get handed some terrible, terrible news at the hospital. And I said to my person, I don't know how to love you through this. I don't know what to do. So you're going to have to teach me how to love you through this.
Yeah.
And he was like, what?
Yeah.
So when you calm down, you've had time to let the reality kick in. You come back and teach me how to love you.
Wow.
I know. It's a great question, isn't it?
It is. That's a deep question.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Cause thinking like this whole process through life, like love is a new thing. Like learning to love, like, especially like people loving themselves.
The thing about when people say you got to learn to love yourself, unless you can teach me how, don't tell me.
Yeah.
Don't tell me unless you can teach me.
Yeah.
So that's what I love about the 5 Love Languages. That book's been around forever, so it's quality time.
Who's that book by?
Oh gosh, Gary Chapman. I think I'm going to be wrong, but if you go to the 5 Love Languages website, it's amazing. They teach you your apology style, your 5 love languages, how to learn to love your children. It's just amazing, and it's all free. So the 5 love languages are quality time, physical touch, gifts, words or affirmation, and I forget the 5th. So what happens with couples, and this is not just intimate partners, it's friendships too. If you're always trying to take me out and buy me something, but you're always on your phone, if I'm a quality time person, I'm never going to feel loved by you.
Yeah.
If you just sit with me at home and sit on the back porch and have a cup of coffee and give me 20 minutes of real attention, I don't need anything else but that. But unless you know that about me, you're going to keep throwing things at me that are comfortable for you, but don't work for me.
Yeah. So you got to learn the other person. Wow.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. So how did you learn to love yourself?
I think you continue to learn until you get buried in the ground. I think your age changes it, your partner changes it, and the longer you're clean and sober. One of the things I learned when I first got sober, I hired a life coach, and he said, I want you to learn this very defining distinction. I want you to take a big piece of paper and draw a line down the middle. And on the right side, you know the things that make you feel good: drugs, sex, chocolate, alcohol, whatever, right? The quick fix. Who doesn't love our drugs and alcohol? Those make me feel good.
Yeah.
But in my drug addict mind, I did not know there was another way to live. So he asked me to start writing a list of the things I do that make me feel good about me. And I was like, what?
Yeah, that's kind of hard to fathom at that point.
I don't even know what I do. If you take away my alcohol, I don't know anything else that makes me feel besides that. I drink and make a decision. I drink and then I go. I first alcohol, then decision. So you know how that worked out.
Yeah.
So now I have a very long list of things I do after 10 years of things that make me feel good about me. So one of the funny things is I love matching jammies. So when I'm having a bad day, I go home, take a little shower, put my hair up in pigtails, and put on matching jammies and little slippers because it makes me feel good about me. And inside of that, I'm comforting that little girl that never got to comfort because I was busy drowning her out.
Wow. Wow, that's... Of course the gate bell goes off, right? That
was a perfect moment. The bells just went off in our head, learning the distinction. The things that make me feel good and the things that make me feel good about me. So when you phrase that question, one can start thinking, God, what is it that I can do that does make me feel good about me? Yeah. We don't talk about that, do we?
No, we don't. Yeah. It was kind of like I realized, when I got sober that I didn't like anything about me.
No.
I never knew me.
Sober.
And I mean, I'm still learning something new about me every day. Like lately I've been learning that Mark's a little slothy. and procrastination is like my Achilles heel. And I've been working on that, right? And I've been and I've been really trying to okay, well, what can I do about this? But I got to make sure I don't dwell on it too long, because then I'll use that as an excuse to procrastinate. So it's okay, this obviously something needs to be done. And usually I ended up giving it over to a higher power or something like that, and I'm just okay, but I also know I got to put in the action too. What am I going to do to change this?
Well, in the recovery, they call it SMART, specific, measurable, attainable, relatable goals. Mm-hmm. So we don't want to overwhelm ourselves with goals. So try to keep them small. And my new favorite quote is, stop polluting your potential.
Okay, so tell me about that quote. That's interesting. I've never heard that.
Isn't that great?
That is. Stop polluting your potential.
Because
break it down.
That quote right there just tells me what I'm doing in my own life. I don't need Fred, or She to come tell me how I need to rise up in my own life. That quote to me takes me back to me and helps me go back to where I need to get recentered in my own life. I am polluting my own potential. Laziness, sloth, gossip, my cell phone, TikTok.
Oh, TikTok. I don't, I'm not a TikTok person, but I will go down the Instagram hole.
No, I
the
cannot
Insta hole.
stand Instagram.
What you get? What?
I don't like Instagram. I never have.
What?
I know, but I don't even know if we can be friends if you don't like TikTok.
Listen, I'm not. Look, my daughter told me that I'm too old to be on TikTok.
Okay, well, that's okay.
Yeah, she's like, I said, should I open a TikTok? And she's like, Dad, no.
Well, I have 94,000 followers already.
What?
Yes, and I'm 57 next month.
Dang. All right.
So the other night, in the class the other night, I mean, I love one-liners because they bring me back to me. Stop polluting your potential.
That's
Even
beautiful.
just listening to that quote, doesn't it tell you where you're not doing your best? It's not making you wrong, but it is asking yourself, where can I?
That actually has just changed my whole perspective on a couple of things.
Right.
Because I can pollute my own potential.
Me too.
Mountain out of a molehill.
Oh, listen, I'm a savage. I can throw smoke up quick, right? I was raised that way.
Yeah.
Oh, Kim said that. Wait, anyway, yes, I can pollute my own potential quite quickly and then blame it on other people.
Yeah. Yeah. I failed because of that.
Right?
Yeah. Isn't that amazing how as like addicts and alcoholics we do that? Like we want to pass the buck just down. It's just like that's person's fault. I had nothing to do with it.
Because we did that in our addiction.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now we got to come clean, but there's just somebody was trying to embarrass me. I'm not pointing them out in class the other night. I said, you can't embarrass me. I'll embarrass myself before anybody else can call me out on it. That was me. That was me running naked in the neighbor's yard.
I'll take my own inventory right now.
Was butt naked with a quarter bag. That was me.
The things we do in the pursuit of, right? Have you ever done that? Made a list of things you wouldn't do if you were in sound mind?
No.
In the pursuit of. It's an interesting list.
I would be willing to make one, but I raced power boats. A lot of people don't know this. I owned and raced my own powerboat team and stayed sober in that environment as well.
Wow.
Yes, I know people are like, how the heck did you do that? And it's just sheer willpower. But I just lost my train of thought. What were we talking about?
Powerboats.
Came before that, but it just
list things you wouldn't do if you were in sound mind,
so
like in the pursuit of.
Yeah. So the people in racing said you can't really tell much difference with you because I'm still just as crazy and wild. Yeah. Sober. So
Yeah.
I'm gifted with that, with that type of personality. But
I've learned that, like, yeah, we got to change everything, right? There's like the one thing you got to change is everything. But in the same way, I'm still unapologetically me.
Yeah.
Like, like I'm still me at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Like that's, yeah.
And then I ask people, how do I land with you? What does it look like to be friends with me? I take inventory amongst the people that I trust.
Yeah.
How do I land in your life? How do I show up? What are some areas I could work on that I haven't seen?
Yeah, that's huge.
Yeah, and you got to be humble enough to listen to what they have to say. But I got certified by the state. Florida State is trying to do what they can to combat the drugs and opioid crisis. So they're taking people who are in recovery and they send them through training, and you get to be they call it a CRPS, Certified Peer Recovery Specialist. Because what they're finding is those of us in recovery that go to the emergency room or detox centers don't want to talk to a psychologist. We want to talk to somebody else who's recovered.
Well, that goes back to like it must hold depth and weight. Like if I look, okay, let me give you an example.
That's a good one.
Yeah. So, in the big book, it talks about frothy emotional appeal. All right. Not suffice. Right. In fact, you know what? Hold on. Okay. Let me whip it out here. And
this is a family show.
Hey, well, come on now. Bump. Yeah, you like that? That's the first time I've used that sound effect. So it says, frothy emotional appeal seldom suffices. The message which can interest and hold these alcoholic people must have depth and weight. And it's like, okay, it takes the confidence of an alcoholic or an addict to win the confidence of another alcoholic or addict. Because I'm going to look at that person, right? That doctor, that therapist, that other person, like, you have no idea what I'm going through. That's why I can never talk to a therapist.
No, because they don't know.
They and I mean, and then of course that's me still judging them. Like, I don't know if they've been, unless I know that they're an alcoholic or an addict, like straight out of the gate, I'm going to judge the shit out of them.
Well, I would too. I mean, because we're going to bear our souls to another human. So we want to know, even the Bible, if we go faith or not, it says, don't throw your pearls before swine. You got to know who you're talking to. If I'm going to bear my soul about my darkest secrets, I got to know who I'm talking to. So when I'm in front of class, I say I'm a state certified sober coach and I'm 10 years sober. I'm not anonymous. Nothing about me is anonymous because I want to save lives.
Yeah, it is. Like I understand where people like with their anonymity can't say anything to somebody, whether it be a job or something like that. But I found that being open about it is I don't hide it. I mean, obviously, I got recovery tattoos and stuff like that, and putting this thing out there. But the thing is that for one, it's combating that fear, because I was riddled with this fear. I don't know if you can relate to it. The fear of what will people think.
Oh, if I tell them.
Yeah, or just anything. Like when I was going to get sober, right? That's a big fear that held me up from getting sober. What will people think now?
Interesting.
It's that fear of what will people think was huge. I'm sitting there, my life's going down the tubes. People can see it. But yeah, I'm afraid of what they're going to think if I openly admit that I'm an alcoholic or an addict and go through recovery.
Oh. It really takes time to sit down and get to know who you're talking to so you can understand where they're coming from in the system from that point.
Yeah.
I didn't have those emotions. Mine were more, how am I going to do this?
It was,
how am I going to survive this? How am I going to get through this world and not drink when this whole world drinks?
Yeah. So what was it like when you started to hit 30, 60, 90 days?
It was, listen, I still was out there socially. I was racing boats. And so it was rough on me. But again, I went back to, I refuse to give up what I want most for what I want tonight. And I know that if I pick up a drink, there's probably going to be a police officer coming around. Now, I was lucky. I never got in trouble with the law. I would just drink myself into a position I would end up at detox. So the struggle I had, and the thing that really still gets under my skin, is when one decides not to drink and they go out socially, how everyone else says, come on, just have one drink, just have one drink. I struggled there. That's one of the struggles. The people I work with are like, how do we go out and say no? They get embarrassed, so they pick up a drink like I did, because Fred keeps pushing it on them. So now I just say, oh, honey, I'll be happy to have a drink with you if you're paying for my next trip to Betty Ford. And that shuts them right up. More than happy to sit here with you. Tomorrow morning, you got to fly me off to Betty Ford.
I break out in handcuffs.
I do.
And felonies.
I do look good in orange, though.
Why can I picture you in orange right now? Just jazzing it up.
Listen.
I make this shit look good.
I do. Give me a scrunchie and a roll of quarters. I will own this detox, right? I just need some quarters to call somebody, right? Listen, in the I have a nickname in the recovery world, and it's I'm called Gangster Barbie.
Gangster. Okay, so do you remember who coined you that? Like, do you remember when that got coined?
Probably one of the girls on the female campus was like, "Dang, girl, you are just straight up Gangster Barbie." I said, "I know my audience." Some people you got to be really easy with, and some people you got to be really tough with, and you got to know your audience.
Yeah. How do you tell the difference of who you need to be hard with and easy with?
That just comes from being around them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you find this work really rewarding?
I would do it for free if I could. This would be the one job I would do for free the rest of my life. I never feel like I'm working a day in my life. I work typically with men. Because we have more men. Between the two campuses I'm on right now, we have 75 men on both campuses, hardly any women. And I was like, why? And they say, because the moms stay home and deal with their addiction because the children. I was like, how awful is that these women are suffering through their own addiction and so I have to manage the children so they don't get taken away. So we have more men in recovery than women. So I've just gotten used to being around men more.
Yeah.
And I totally would. I would be the Erin Brockovich of recovery. Actually, I stuck my nose in a case recently that wasn't my business.
Oh.
But I have to say, I might have saved the person from going back to prison.
Yeah.
It is sad, our criminal system, when somebody relapses and the option is they got to go back to prison because they violated probation, breaks my heart to rip these people out of a recovery house and throw them back in jail for 2 years because they got drunk.
Do you feel that addicts and alcoholics are treated less than in the system?
Absolutely. I am a white, well-insured girl, and I got treated like crap every time in recovery. At the hospital, they treated me like trailer trash. That's just the way it is. You're not going to get treated any better. You're an alcoholic. We don't care how much money you got.
Yeah, it's I mean, and it's a revolving door.
It is.
Cycle.
And listen, the medical system, they're taxed and they're overwhelmed. I get it. There's no easy answer to any of all this.
Well, the one thing that I learned that like with me, okay, I do AA, right?
Yeah.
I do a 12-step program. Treatment wasn't going to fix the problem for me because
Right.
I was the problem. I was always the problem, and I had to do something about it after treatment. And I know there's many different avenues to get sober. There's many different ways. People do it different ways. I know for myself, I had to go to a 12-step program. Yeah. And at first I wanted to, but I didn't want to, right? I didn't want to fight it, but I fought it.
Right.
I'm going to do this. This is going to work. Like this is really what's going to do. But lo and behold, it worked because I was never able to get myself sober beforehand. Right. And so it was, trusting a higher power, working steps, going to meetings and stuff. Now you said do you still go to like meetings?
No.
No.
I haven't been to meetings in years.
Yeah.
I did the first year or two.
Okay.
And they just didn't work for me. But I tell people, look, however you get clean and sober, just get clean and sober. My way is just one pathway.
Yeah.
I did it in an odd way. Mine's like a great salad. It's a little bit of everything. Sometimes I pull on my friends. Sometimes I'm podcasting it. Sometimes I'm taking a long walk. There's a multitude of ways I stay clean and sober.
Yeah. Yeah, that's beautiful. Yeah, because that's the one thing. I've noticed that there's a lot of different ways, but I know for sure that this was the way for me.
Absolutely.
Like some people do. They need to.
I think everyone in recovery should go through the 12 steps and work the steps. I just picked up my 10-year chip December 3rd and I'm reworking step 9 again, and it's changed my life. Going back looking for. Oh my God, making amends. Who thought you would make amends 10 years later? It's changed my life.
Yeah. Well, I learned that amends is like a lifelong process. Like I'm never done with it. Like when I think I'm done, like my higher power steps in is like, oh,
ding dong.
Yeah, the gate bell when Kurt pulls up here. It's like, yeah.
The chicken has laid another egg.
Has the chicken Kurt, am I an uncle again?
You're an uncle again. I'll need you to sit on that one tonight.
See, just when you thought you wanted a drink, you've got a job that's going to take you away from it. Now you're going to sit on an egg tonight.
So let me tell you about this. So we're looking at this chicken coop out here, right?
Yeah.
This was my biggest, since I've moved back to this coast, this was my biggest ego trip.
The chicken coop.
The chicken coop. So let me tell you why. My biggest, I call it my inner dictator, right? I've learned to put the dictator away, right? But it's like when I'm driving, who are all these people on my road? How come you're not making that sandwich in the predetermined time that I thought you were going to make it, right? But my biggest, don't you know who I am?
I built the chicken coop.
Well, no, it wasn't that. It was when I got told that we were going to build the chicken coop because Kurt goes and gets these 17 chickens, right? It's Kurt.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, here's 17 chickens. 2 weeks later, we're starting to build this coop. I'm like, I'm not a construction guy. I'm a trim guy. I do all this fine work, and I'm out here grunting with an auger with a friend of his, digging these holes for all these posts. You see it. It's a substantially really big chicken
It's a nice house. It's a tiny house.
I know you could. It's a tiny house. You could live in this thing. I'm like, it's the Taj Mahal for chickens. I'm like, Kurt, when's the Gucci wallpaper show up? Where's the Fendi rug? Right. So I'm cussing this thing the whole time. We're building it. I am out of my mind pissed that I'm having to build that thing.
Yeah.
Don't you know who I am, right? That sense of entitlement comes up I'm better than this. I'm better than building a chicken coop. You know how many amends I had to make over that chicken coop? Listen, by the time it was done, I was looking at those chickens as they were about to go in then the run out there. And I was looking at them and I was like, I was starting to take the chicken's inventory. I'm like, has that one got a messed up neck?
No, you did not.
What's wrong with that one?
No.
What's wrong with his neck?
No,
I'm like, is that one cross-eyed? Right? And then I'm looking at him, I'm like, you better lay me golden eggs. Some diamond encrusted macrame eggs. These better taste great. And I'm like, chicken sandwich mother cluckers. But now I look at him And, you know, we
at
go out,
that.
we feed them, you know, when I'm here. And like, you know,
Yeah.
Kurt loves these things. And like, I watch them and they're just hypnotic. And the roosters and the hens, like they're out there making their noise in their little language. And it's real hypnotic. And it's
Yeah, because you
It's
know
beautiful.
what? They're where you and I want to be, which is unbothered. That's my new favorite word.
really,
I want to be unbothered
tell me about that.
because I'm bothered by everything. Haven't you seen someone just sitting there? They're just so, like those chickens right now, they're just so unbothered. That's my next goal. Unbothered.
They are. I'm bothered. I was doing, I don't know, like I sent you some of these episodes before I had you come on so you could kind of hear what you were getting yourself into. And I was doing a round table with 4 women. And one of them, did you listen? She talked about Lieutenant Dan.
Yeah.
And now, yeah, and we ended up talking about how Lieutenant Dan was like alcoholism and Forrest Gump is the program recovery, like total acceptance.
Right.
Like
God.
completely unbothered.
Unbothered.
Yeah.
Wasn't he great?
Yeah.
He just epitomized what love really was.
Yeah.
He just loved him no matter what.
Yeah, he loved Lieutenant Dan. He loved Jenny no matter what. He loved his
Jenny.
mama, Jenny.
Jenny.
Yeah, and Jenny treated him like crap.
She did.
Yeah. Yeah, it was no matter what, he wasn't bothered by these people.
I have started to come into that realm just recently. I don't want to go into the hows and whys. That'll be for another podcast. But somebody came into my life recently and just opened a door to this sense that I could be unbothered and love somebody like Forrest Gump. And it's just been amazing. Life changer for me.
Wow, unbothered.
Unbothered. And accepting.
Acceptance is everything.
Just the way you are.
Yeah.
Just the way you are. I can't imagine this. I have started treating people the way I wish somebody had treated me when I got sober.
Really?
Yeah. So I talk, I got certified by the state. So you don't know me that well, but
Yeah.
I talk slower.
Yeah.
I try to pause in between the sentences. I don't butt in. I've learned all these subtle nuances that in hopes lets the person I'm speaking to know that they're safe in speaking with me. That I know no better. I am no better. I'm just a place where you can say whatever you need to say. And I'm going to love you no matter what.
That's so beautiful. So you changed that about yourself.
I did.
Well, how'd you used to talk?
I knew everything. I'd butt in, cut everybody off. My dog's bigger than your dog. I know that. Uh-huh. I know that. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
So annoying. Now when I go out and my dog is bigger than your dog, I'm like, ooh, something's going on with my stomach. I got to go. This is just going to be too exhausting.
Yeah. Yeah. So you're doing all these wonderful things in recovery. And so you do a lot of service.
I do. Actually, in 2019, Harvest House nominated me. I did not know this, my little redneck ass. I thought philanthropy meant money. Mm-hmm. But they nominated me Philanthropist of the Year for Harvest House because of the sheer amount of hours I gave back to the community.
Really?
Yes.
Congratulations.
Yes.
So now looking back at that crazy girl that was out running and gunning and drinking and drugging to that.
Night and day. I don't need another gown to go to one more event. You give me a drug addict in a dumpster and I'm happy. I'd rather be sitting with a drug addict behind the Dollar General talking to him than being at these fancy events.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
That's very powerful.
It's changed my life. It really has.
That's amazing. So you look at the difference like between that and this and like what is that? How does that make you feel on the inside?
I live in two different worlds. I live in a world of like the normal world we all think of, but then I have the distinction of what recovery really looks like and what people are starting over. And it could have been me. And I would much rather just be with people in recovery starting over. It gives me hope. It gives them hope. Mm-hmm. And I just keep reminding myself, how would want someone to sit with me on my darkest days, feeling like the biggest loser in the world, wondering how I'm going to recover myself, my reputation, my money, all those things. I'm going to get my sense of value back. Mm-hmm. And it's typically by somebody sitting with you, being with you, not what you think they need.
Yeah.
Asking them, how can I help you? And listening to the answer.
Yeah. Wow. Oh, that's powerful. Well, I had no idea that we were going to end up talking about all this
Right?
today. This is good. You know,
we'll do more than one.
yeah, let's do. So before we go, before we end this thing, the new person that's coming into recovery, the newcomer.
Yeah.
You know, we get told they're the most important person, and it is. It's important.
Yeah.
The newcomer is very important. Do you have anything you'd like to say to the newcomer who might be listening to this?
Sometimes in life, you give up that one thing and you end up with everything.
That's beautiful. It is, right? A whole new door opens up, right?
All I had to do was give up one thing,
Wow.
and I could have everything.
Yeah. That's huge. Yeah.
And I'm living proof. Instead of drinking the proof, I live the proof.
Beautiful. Well, Kim, thank you so much for your time today. And it's been really good. It's been a lot of laughs, a lot of fun. And it's been really insightful to hear your perspective on recovery and to hear all the things that you do. And thank you so much for your service that you do today and for other people out there. That's amazing.
I love it. And it's the thing I'm most proud about. I really am. In my rocking chair days, I'm never going to forget the lives I changed.
Wow. That's beautiful. Well, keep doing what you're doing.
Yes, thanks for inviting me.
Thank you for being on. And before we go, two things. I got a recovery band. They're going to take us out. All right, you ready?
Yes.
You
Let's
like that?
go.
Yeah. And kick it. It's still that one song. And studio audience.
Thank you for showing up.
Yeah. Woo! They're doing the wave. Look.
I love it.
Thank you so much, Kim.
You're welcome.
Thanks. Goodbye, everyone, and be well.